Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, Chapter 3, text number 32. In the matter of Yamaraja instruct his messengers. Srinvatam Garanatam Viryani Uddhamani Aremu Yatha Sujataya Bhaktya Suddhenatma Vrthadbihi. Translation and purport by Divine Gita Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. One who constantly hears and chants the holy name of the Lord and hears and chants about its activities can very easily attain the platform of pure devotional service, which can cleanse the dirt from one's heart. One cannot achieve such purification merely by observing vows and performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Purport. One may very easily practice chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and thus become ecstatic in spiritual life. Padma Purana states, Nama aparadha yuktanam namani eva haranti agam avishranti prayuktani tani evartha karanicha. Even if one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra offensively, one can avoid offenses by continuously chanting without deviation. One who becomes accustomed to this practice will always remain pure, will always remain in a pure transcendental position, untouchable by sinful reaction. Sukadeva Goswami especially requested King Parikshit to note this fact very carefully. There is no profit, however, in executing the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. By performing such activities, one may go to the higher planetary system. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Shine Punye Martyalokam Vishanti. When the period of one's enjoyment in the heavenly planet is terminated, because of the limited extent of the result of one's pious activity, one must return to earth. Thus there is no use in endeavoring to travel up and down in the universe. It is better to chant the holy name of the Lord so that one may become fully purified and eligible to return home back to Godhead. That is the aim of life and that is the perfection of life. Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purport. So, in the last verse also we saw, Sukadeva Goswami continued, the translation is, Sukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is able to uproot even the reaction of the greatest sin. So we know Ajamila, during his young days, he was a Brahmana, he was worshipping the deity, he was assisting his father in worshipping the deity. And he fell down from his Brahminical standard and he got entangled and he committed a lot of sinful activities. So here in the previous verse also it is mentioned, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is able to uproot even the reaction of the greatest sin. Therefore the chanting of the Sankirtana movement is the most auspicious activity in the entire universe. The entire universe, what is the most auspicious thing? Bhagavatam says, chanting the names of Lord. That's why it's called here, Jagan Mangalam Ammasam. Jagan Mangalam, very auspicious throughout the universe. So, actually we are all so fortunate we got this chanting. If you take it seriously, there are so many verses actually from various Puranas. Again and again Prabhupada is quoting in his writings. Just by chanting, in the last sentence also Prabhupada today's purport he says, that is the aim of life and that is the perfection of life. Just by chanting, we can achieve all the results. Not by performing dhana, tapa, different sacrifices. It's all very difficult, particularly in Kali Yuga. So, and then it is mentioned, please try to, so Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj in the last verse, Please try to understand this so that others will take it seriously. We heard how nicely in the last class, when in the fifth canto, at the end of the fifth canto, various types of hellish planets were described by Sukadeva Goswami in the Bhagavatam. So Parikshit Maharaj was very concerned, very compassionate, how the people are sinful, how these sinful people of this world can be delivered. So immediately in the 6th chapter, 1st canto, we read about this life history of Ajamila. So Sukadeva Goswami tested Ajamila because you commit sin. Generally, you take any religion, you commit some sin, you can atone for it and get away from this. That is a common understanding. Just like Prabhupada gives the example, like Christian goes to church on Sunday, they go and confess about their sinful activities. It's very good actually, going on revealing to the priest. In other religion also, actually if somebody is sincere, he'll go and express this to the deity of the Lord. So, okay, that is good, but what happens? Because we are not clean of all our dirty contamination, we again commit the same sinful activities. So, that's why this verse says, one who constantly hears and chants the holy name of the Lord, Srinvatam and Giranatham. Oh, again, the Srinvatam word is used throughout the Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, again, Shrunu, hear. We have to hear actually. When we hear only, we will understand all these things. Otherwise, we may be very qualified, we may be very educated, but we will miss out this point. So, here it is mentioned, one who constantly hears and chants the holy name of the Lord, hears and chants about his activities. So, whole of Bhagavatam is about the activities of Lord, a different incarnation, a different leelas, a different dealing with his devotees, Lord dealing with his devotees. So in this case we are seeing this Ajamila, so sinful person. Just by uttering the word Narayana, he got liberation. That is the potency of the holy name. So here it is mentioned about his activities can very easily attain the platform of pure devotional service. The devotional service itself is very rare. Not many people are interested, correct, in bhakti or devotional service. Bhaunam janmanam ante jnanamam ma prapadyate, Krishna also says. After many, many births and death, one comes to this knowledge. Then he surrenders. Vasudevam sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Durlabha is difficult. Sudurlabha is very, very rare actually. So, and just by chanting this, here it is mentioned, we can easily attain the pure devotional service. Because unless we come to the platform of pure devotional service, we cannot go to spiritual world. We cannot attain Krishna. Whole process in the human form of life is actually purification of our heart, mind, soul. Our soul is very pure. But because we are come in contact with this material world, we come in contact with the three modes of material nature, we get entangled. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai. Soul is completely pure. Because we are engaged in this body, and this body means when we come to this world, we have to act. And that is karma. When we do our karma, actually we end up in committing sinful activities. We'll come to that. So here it is said in the translation, we can attain the platform of pure devotional service which cleanses the dirt from one's heart. Uddamani hare muhu. Uddamani, able to counteract sin. And muhu means, Prabhupada here he translates as always. Prabhupada translates in elsewhere, constantly, incessantly, continuously. See, all these words are there. Satatam, always, again. You have to somehow or other chant, hear, engage in these activities. So this is the first 3 lines. The 4th line says, Shuddhayen na atma vrita adibhihi. Shuddhayet means purified. Prabhupada translate here as Shuddhayet may be purified. Na atma, na not atma, heart and soul. Vrita adibhi. So vrita, vow, and Prabhupada here he translates that by performing ritualistic ceremonies. So one cannot achieve such purification merely by observing vows and performing Vedic ritualistic activities. See, we get a direct contrast here. First 3 lines is talking of very easily we can attain purification. The 4th line talks of we cannot achieve that even by following vows and performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. So, this is the power of chanting the holy name of the Lord. In fact, this because we are coming to this end of this chapter, Sukadeva Goswami is again summarizing this. If you recall in the previous chapter also, there are 2 verses talking about the same thing. 6 chapters, 6th canto, 2nd chapter, text 11. The translation is, by performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. So if somebody chants once the holy name of Lord Hari without offense, purely, what happens? Chanting the holy name of Lord. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reaction, it does not awaken devotional service, unlike the chanting of the holy name, unlike the chanting of Lord's name. See, you commit some sinful activities, you follow this atonement procedure, you'll get freed from that. But since we have that desire, sinful desire within our heart, that is why we commit the same thing. So even in the first chapter, when Sukadeva Goswami was proposing about atonement to Parikshit Maharaj, he was testing actually. Parikshit Maharaj is also not an ordinary devotee. So he said, no, I don't want this atonement. Give me something better. So that time it is mentioned that, again in that first chapter, 15th verse, Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya. So all those 3 chapters, it is talking of devotional service, chanting, hearing, and to get freed from the sinful reaction. So like this was the 11th verse in the last chapter. 17th verse. See how Bhagavatam is developing here. Although one may neutralize the reaction of sinful life through austerity, charity, vows, and other such methods, these pious activities cannot uproot the material desires in one's heart. So, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is a direct process. It's not an indirect process. Particularly in Kali Yuga, all these things will not work. Taking vow. What is our vow? We are being told to chant just 16 rounds. That itself we are finding it difficult. But we find from the scriptures, those times, these austerities, what they were doing, all these tapasvis. They used to stand on cold water during winter and perform severe type of austerities. We can't do all these things. We have to just chant, dance, sing the glories of the Lord, take prasadam. So simple process. So, however, if one serves the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contamination. So again, Bhagavatam brings about this thing because this is the only way to get out of this entanglement of material world, and it's a very simple process. That's why Prabhupada begins this purport also, today's purport. One may very easily practice chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and thus become ecstatic in spiritual life. So, the quality of chanting is also important. But immediately then Prabhupada quotes this from Padma Purana. Even if one chants Hare Krishna mantra offensively, one can avoid offenses by continuously chanting without deviation. So we have got this wonderful process. Otherwise, anybody who is working in this world, material world, this karmis, the materialist, we work for our own enjoyment, for our personal account, for ourselves, for our extended family. That's all. So the moment you work, you commit sinful activities. And if you commit sinful activities, again you have to take birth in this world. So Prabhupada says there must be some sinful activities. Therefore, every karmi is a sinful man. Prabhupada says every karmi is a sinful man. Just like to regulate the human being, we have different licenses. See, just like government issue license or there are some rules and regulations, just like in the income tax department, sales tax department, municipality. Because we will act in this world, we will commit sinful activity. So at least to some extent, Prabhupada says, to stop them from doing sinful activity as far as possible, government introduces all these acts so that a good person, he will follow all these rules and regulations, even like a businessman. He has to do business. So all these permissions are there, licenses are there, he has to follow all these things. So that his sinful activity will be less. So otherwise you get entangled more and more in this world only. So Prabhupada says, Krishna is the regulator of religious principle. That's why it's also called a Dharma Setu in a place, he says. Dharma Setu. Setu means bridge. So we have to cross over the ocean of nescience and ignorance if we follow the rules and regulations given in the scriptures. So that's why these businessmen, these industrial organization, they have to follow all these rules and regulations. Otherwise they get more and more entangled. But who is bothered? Whatever, nobody knows this. Today there are so many smart people are there, educated people. They know how to get away from these rules and regulations, correct? There will be some loophole here and there. There's some brainy chap. They want to get away from all these things. So you get more and more entangled. Because then Prabhupada goes on to say, people are foolish. They do not take it very seriously. Because they do not know that they are eternal. This is the one very common thing we also come across, correct? When we go and talk about karma, you are doing activity, we commit sin, we are in this world because we have committed some sin in the past life. Because if we have not committed sin, we are not supposed to be here. We should be in the spiritual world, which is 3/4 of the Lord's creation. So all of us in this material world, we have that sinful desire. We have committed some sinful activity. That's why we are here. So when we go and tell that, people say generally, what is this, Swamiji? We just enjoy this life, work hard, earn, enjoy. Who is bothered about next life? Correct? So that is not the human form of life. That is just like an animal. You can't go and give this information to an animal, correct? Cats, a dog. It doesn't make any sense to them. They're just interested in eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So human being also, we are conditioned soul, we are engaged in these activities. But at the same time, we should try to understand all these things. So, life is eternal, we will go on, we give up this body, we take on to another body. Na anyate anyamane sharire. Krishna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, he says, we give up this body, we take on to another body according to our activities now. So we have to be responsible. Human beings are responsible. We just can't act. Just like they have to follow the rules and regulation of the government. Otherwise, if they're caught, they will be penalized. So, like this, Prabhupada in another place he says, by direction given in the scriptures for vows, tapasya, charity, ritualistic ceremonies, one cannot achieve perfection because tendency to commit sin is deep rooted. So what happens when we directly do devotional service of chanting and hearing the names of Lord? Actually, our sinful desire will be uprooted. It has to be uprooted. Just like these gardeners, when they do that, they take out the weeds very carefully and throw it off. Otherwise, it will come up actually. So, that's why when Sukadeva Goswami suggested this to Parikshit Maharaj in the first chapter, 6th canto, he said, it's like a kunjara sauchava. It's like a bathing of an elephant. You would have heard about this, you would have seen this. Elephant takes a very thorough bath. It gets into a lake, pond, nicely take bath. Moment it comes out of water, what it does? It takes the dirt and throws it on his body. So what is the use about this? Taking a thorough bath. So similarly, if we also confess for our sin and again commit the same sin, actually it is we cannot advance in spiritual life. Prabhupada gives another example, just like a patient. When he falls sick, he goes to doctor. So doctor prescribes him some medicine and he also gives some diet to him. He should take this medicine 2 times or 3 times a day. He should avoid eating this food. He should take only this food. Correct? So if you follow this thing, automatically the patient will get cured in few days. Or if you follow little here and there, what will happen? For the time being, it will be subside. It will subside. It will again show up. Again you will fall sick. Again you will have to go to doctor. So Prabhupada in another place he says, so this is the super excellence of chanting. Simply once chanting purely without offense, we can be liberated. There is a verse actually. Just chanting once purely without offense, you can be liberated. Just see, we are doing day after day after day. So we should take it seriously. We should try to improve the quality of our japa. And for that, we have to read these things. So, this is the factual perfection of chanting. Prabhupada, in that same place, he says, factual perfection of chanting is, we can see the form of Lord. We can realize Krishna's qualities. We can remember the pastimes of Krishna. Prabhupada write this. Nama, Rupa, all these things will be revealed. We can get this. But it calls for a sincere chanting, pure chanting, and without offense. So we have to practice. That's why Prabhupada, in today's purport also he is saying, one may very easily practice chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and thus become ecstatic. So, there are many quotes actually in the scriptures. In the CC, Antyalila, 4.71, Prabhupada quotes many verses from different scriptures. Of the 9 processes of devotional service, the most important is to always chant the holy name of the Lord. If one does so, avoiding the 10 kind of offenses, one very easily obtain the most valuable love of God. Chant without offense, you will obtain most valuable love of God. There actually this verse also Prabhupada is quoting. This is from Rupa Goswami, Namashtaka, verse 1, very famous verse. Nikla Shruti Mauli Ratnamala, Duti Nirajita Pada Pankajanta, Aimukta Kole Upasyamanam, Paritastam Harinama Samshrayami. Prabhupada also quote this verse in the purport of that Shravanam Kirtanam verse, elaborate purport Prabhupada is writing in the 7th canto. There also Prabhupada quote this verse. Oh Harinam, the tip of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly being worshipped by the glowing radiance emanating from the sting of gems known as the Upanishad. the crown jewels of all the Vedas. You are eternally adored by liberated soul such as Narada and Sukadeva. Oh Harinama, I take complete shelter of you. Actually, Hare Krishna mantra can be chanted on the liberated platform only. It's by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, though we are so sinful, we have been given this opportunity to chant. And the only way to get away from offensive chanting is to chant more and more, Prabhupada says. See, only liberated, like Bhagavatam also says, the first canto, 7th chapter, they relish, liberated soul relish the chanting and hearing of the holy name. It is done on that platform. Then Prabhupada quotes a couple of verses here. He's quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 1st chapter, 11th verse. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all. See, success for all just by chanting. Prabhupada, at the end of the purport, he says, that is the aim of life, that is the perfection of life. Including those who are free from material desire, those who are desirous of material enjoyment, and those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. You may fall in any of these categories. Still, if you chant, actually we'll get purified. So like that, Prabhupada quotes Trinadapi and one verse from this chapter itself. So, also in the Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, that also very powerful. That verse also Prabhupada quotes in that Srinvatans Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnam, in that purport Prabhupada is quoting. Nivritasai Uvagiyamana Bhava Aushada Chotra Manobirama Kha Uttama Sloka Gunanuvada Puman Virajeta Vina Pasugnad. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from the spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false, temporary glorification of cosmic manifestation. This material world is full of glorification of these karmis, materialists who achieve big things. Description of the Lord or the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Bhava Aushada Chotra Manobirama. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? So, Puman Virajeta Vina Pasugnat. Pasugnat means one who is killing, hearing the glory, except a butcher. Person who is killing animal or who is killing his own self also. Is not trying to understand about the spiritual life. So, in that 7th canto purport, Prabhupada writes, one should chant prayers composed in glorification of holy name. Why? To become free from the offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. So, there actually Prabhupada quote these two words, I Mukta Kulair and Nivritta Tasai. So, it's a very nice opportunity for all of us. We have got this treasure with us. So, we should go on improving our quality of chanting, quality of reading, because this verse says, one who constantly hears and chants the holy name of the Lord, and hears and chants the activities of the Lord. So, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is full of activities of Lord. So, just by hearing this, actually, we can get purified. Then Prabhupada mentions in the purport today that even by performing such activities, one may go to the higher planetary system, but as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Shine Punne Martyalokam Vishanti. So people want to do all these charity, they want to do ritualistic activities because they want to be promoted to the heavenly planet. That is the aim. But even if you go to the heavenly planet, even if you become a Devata, you have to come back to this world. Because once your pious credits gets over, we'll again come to this earth. So, we may enjoy life for a very long duration and we'll have a lot of wonderful godly facilities. Prabhupada says, but asset of a pious activity is finished, you have to come back to this material world. It's like a Ferris wheel, correct? Prabhupada in that purport, Bhagavad Gita also he mentioned this. Wheel. So it goes up and down, up and down. The children, when we are child, we are going on this Ferris wheel. It's very interesting, correct? You go up and down, up and down. Like that. It's like a football. We are kicked from one place to another, again we are kicked, like that. So that's why, Brahmanda Brahmanite, Khona Bhagyavanji, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we get the opportunity of devotional service. That is the way we can get out of this material existence, because material existence can never give happiness actually. Prabhupada writes. We think it is happiness. There is no happiness in this material world. Dukhalem ashashvatam. So real happiness we are all seeking, that is there in the spiritual world. For that we have to go to spiritual world. Yadgatvana nivartante tadhama paramam mama. So when we go to spiritual world, we can enjoy that real happiness which we are all looking for, seeking for, which is available. But we are trying for this happiness in the wrong place. That's why we are not getting real happiness. Whatever little flickering happiness is there in this material world, that's why big activities, people are slogging, working day and night. There is little happiness, that is actually reduction of the distress. There is no real happiness, but happiness is defined as reduction in the misery is defined as happiness. Real happiness, because we are all Satchidananda. We are seeking for the eternal Satchit Ananda. So we can get only when we connect with the Lord by chanting and hearing, and we perfect our life and we go back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world. We'll stop here. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.